Says live.
Well, good morning, everyone.
I said that Brandy wasn't here, she is here.
She is here. Hi.
Somebody wasn't here.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to get started. So everybody gets sat down here, and Stella's still doing something. All right. We'll just take a couple of deep breaths and just allow ourselves to relax in whatever way works for you. Just give thanks that we're able to be here and to share our insights and visions and wisdom with one another. It benefits each and every one of us. Thank you, God. Thank you, universe, for the opportunity to fellowship and share our love and understandings with each other this morning. Amen. All right, so I am going to talk, well, actually, I want this to be more of a discussion than just me talking, although I will start. Angels among us, Christmas time, start thinking about, the stories and the angels and what part they played and whether, you're into scripture or not. Angels, the idea of angels have been around for thousands and thousands of years. There's artifacts that have been found in Samaria 30,000 years ago, altars, built to angels. So there's been a belief in angels for a very, very long time. And what I want to talk about, and I really feel like it's important to talk about this, and perhaps now at this particular time, is what are angels and what part do they play in our existence and our experience in life. I have my own personal experiences I'd like to share a little bit later, but I'm hoping this will be more of a discussion because I think every one of us have had experiences that kind of add to that understanding we have of the part that angels play, in our world. I looked up a couple of websites just, to have a little bit of background to talk about. Angels in Western culture, called a spiritual being believed to act as an attendant, agent, or messenger from God. Well, in Unity, we don't believe that we need intermediaries. We know that we have our own direct connection to God. So to me, that is a human misunderstanding of, the part that angels or spirit guides or whatever you choose to call them, but the part that they play. They're not intermediaries. We don't need that. But, do they still serve a purpose for us? I looked up how Charles Fillmore defined angels, and he calls it the projection into consciousness of a spiritual idea direct from the fountainhead, Jehovah. He believed that angels are direct thought and energy from God available to us for guidance in life. Much more Unity understanding of angels, but it's not enough for me. I really feel that angels have more of an identity than that. Although, I guess if you think about the fact that we're all spiritual emanations from God, then that does make sense, what Fillmore believed. Throughout time, of course, humans have looked at angels as harbingers of good and evil. Again, probably human misunderstanding of the purposes that they serve. Been recognized in many faiths. Zoroastrian, Islam, Christianity, Jewish faith all have angels in their doctrine. Of course, through, human understanding with the written scriptures, I think we probably are all aware of that we interpret according to, our beliefs. One website I found, and I really like this one, it's called learnreligions.com. And in this it says that angels are not flesh and blood, which I think we would believe. They're ethereal beings who can appear in many ways as people, exotic creatures with wings, or beings of light, etc. Probably animals. I would add that myself. But they're purely spiritual beings, and they are not bound by physical laws. They do have an essence. Each angel is an individual being. Now, I like that because I know I did a talk, months ago, and I honestly couldn't find it. I think it was Mike Dooley. He was talking about spirit. And the fact that everything in the universe, of course, and we believe this, everything is connected, all is of God. But spirit plays different purposes. Plants have a spirit. Animals have a spirit. And yet we know particularly those of us that have pets, that animals are individual as well. They have their own personalities, they have their own quirks, they're individualized. As humans, we know that we believe that we're our spirit, we should know it, but we're also individualized. Well, it would make sense to me, and I believe this is what Dooley said as well, angels are also spirit. They have a different purpose. They have a different purpose from a human. They have a different purpose from an animal. And yet I believe that they are individualized as well. I know that a lot of channeled works like Abraham use the term we, when those spiritual guides come through. I like the term angels, but spirit guide or whatever, use the term we. I don't think that negates the fact that there's individuality within those particular beings. They just have a higher awareness of their oneness. And I think that's where the we comes in. Whereas, in our experience, we tend to say I. Where I don't believe they do that. But I don't think that means they're all just one generic being either. I believe they have an identity. I believe that they're individualized just as we are, just as the animals are, just as the plants are. I honestly believe that. I think that Mike Dooley talked about the 10 things dead people want you to know, and I believe that is where this idea of spirit in different forms and for different purposes comes from. Nothing is above anything. Our spirit is not above the spirit of animals. Angels are not above us. They just have a different purpose. So that's kind of what I wanted to hit on is what is the purpose of angels? Why does it matter to us? We know that we don't need them as intermediaries. We know that we have our own direct connection to God. And so why is it important for us to recognize that angels exist? And I believe that it is very important. And especially now, I think most of us, or probably all of us, could agree that this earth is going through a shift. And it's my personal belief that the angels want to be known at this point because they can be of help. Angels do not, and these are my opinions, but angels do not interfere in our affairs. They don't mess with our choices. We're the ones that have to make those choices. They don't judge us either for our choices. I believe that as spiritual beings, they are just truly coming from a place of absolute love, understanding, compassion. They are there just guiding, watching. If we ask for their help, however, because of that greater vision of the whole, they can give it. And I've had my own experiences with that, and I'm pretty sure you guys have probably had it as well. So that's what I'm hoping we can get to, is just kind of discussing, what we've experienced. I did do a talk too on the return of the bird tribes, and in that it was a channeled writing, and the angels talk. They didn't call. I don't know if they call. Did they call themselves angels? You know that book, Sue.
What's that?
Return of the bird tribes. Did they call themselves angels?
Gosh, it's been so long since I've
Yeah.
read it, I can't remember.
I can't remember. But that was the image I had as I was reading this channeled work. They claimed, and again, they use the term we because of recognizing that oneness, but they claim to have been instrumental in the creation of this world and to have even manifested early into, this existence that we know as the world. But after some time, because of some of the traits that mankind began to develop, they found it not a comfortable place to be, and they felt that they could be of greater service in a spiritual form. And I think that's kind of where they are now as well, but with us constantly. I know we have Stephanie, what's her last name?
Yes.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness. Stephanie, she does readings for us. And she talks about the angels and how, she communicates with angels around her, and I believe her. I believe that she absolutely is able to see them and to communicate with them, and that helps her to open herself up to awarenesses that the rest of us aren't always able to do. I did find a few stories that I just briefly want to talk about. Again, I have had my own experiences, which I will share, but some stories that I found online. Angels have been seen as winged or shining, radiant beings throughout time. St. Francis of Assisi was supposed to have been visited by a fire angel. St. Teresa saw a cherubim that filled her with God's love. There's a story for World War I where the British and the French were fighting the Germans, and the soldiers reported angels on the battlefield. They claimed to have seen a tall, blond man in golden armor with an air of calm serenity. And later, the Germans that were there claimed that they were unable to advance as their horses turned and ran. The angel became known as the Angel of Mons because that's where the battle took place. So, and I think we've all seen or read stories where people have been saved from, fiery crashes or close to death, where they claim that, and I know in the Joplin Tornado, you guys were in that, I read a story where a boy claimed to have been lifted by this light being, and saved from that. So I think it's around us all the time. We're not aware of that. And I want to, hopefully we all can become more aware of the fact that we do have helpers out there if we're willing to ask for their help. I know I do that a lot when I'm driving. I'll say, angels, protect me. And I've been trying to extend that to everyone else on the road. Please protect everyone on this road. And I can feel, I can feel this warm feeling, and almost hear, you'll be fine. I got you, And it's not like I hear it with my ears. It's more of a feeling inside, but I hear those voices. And I've realized, and this, I'm getting up there in years, it's been really in the last few years that I've come to attribute that to angels, because I feel like all my life I've had this kind of inner dialogue going at times when I really needed help. I've been, afraid or needed some comforting. There's this inner dialogue, and I used to think, I must be nuts, I'm hearing these voices and stuff. But I'm coming to realize that no, I don't think I am. I think that there are, those beings that are helping me when I call upon them. Again, they don't interfere with us, but if I need them, they are definitely there. So that hopefully will lead us into some personal experiences. Is there anyone in here that's had an experience that you would like to share? I have a couple of my own, but I'd like to give somebody else an opportunity to talk. Anybody?
This is a constant ongoing thing with me. Years ago, Bill Graham wrote a book about angels, and I had read books about missionaries that had been on the field, that one in particular that was in Israel during the wars, and she was trapped in a Jewish settlement and had been given this baby to care for and was out of milk, and they had barricaded with furniture. And when she got to the barricade, she just knew that it was time to go. And when she got there, this man helped her over the barricade, and when she turned around to thank him, he was totally gone. Mm-hmm. But so I had this belief, and I was raised in Christian Science, which says angels are God's thoughts passing to man. Mm-hmm. But there's so much more than that. And anytime that I'm in a situation where I'm trying to figure something out or I don't know how to do something, I am constantly, angels, help me with this. I'll be on the side of the road and my car is broke down, and I'll say, angels, and, somebody will stop and know exactly what to do. So I constantly talk to my angels, and they constantly whenever I remember, if I forget, then, it's like I'm sitting there in this thing, and then I'll like, oh, I haven't asked the angels. And it's like almost, it's one of those suddenlies that just occurs. And I have this ongoing thing all the time.
Do you feel it internally? You can just feel their presence and their voices?
It's more a knowing. It's a knowing that this is the direction. This is what I need to do.
Wendy?
When the Joplin Tornado happened, and Don had just had hernia surgery, I think the day before. So he was kind of in a fragile state at that time. And on the street where we were a block off the plowed zone. And on the street where we were, the gas main was hit and gas was spewing up. So there was a fear of imminent, danger to get there. And we had some friends who came, Stephen and Michael, that came over. They had come over from Webb City to find us, and they had come across all of the devastation to get us. But we had to go back over the devastation to get back to their car. And Don was, like I say, kind of fragile right then. And we were out in front of our house, and a white truck pulled up. And we got into the back of the truck, and you have to know, it was almost impossible to navigate between. There was so much rubble and stuff. So being able to find a way across would be a really challenge. And the truck took us through the stuff and got us about a half a block away from where the car was that we were going to go. And we were sitting in the back of the truck, and we got out of the back of the truck and took a step. And how your head goes, oh, I didn't say thank you. And we turned around to say thank you, and they were totally gone. And there was no way for them to take off quickly or to disappear quickly because there was so much rubble. They would have had to turn around to get out of that area, but they just disappeared.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. Okay, Paul.
I don't know if anybody has read the book Angels in My Hair or not. It's a book by Lorna Byrne. And if you ever get the opportunity, in fact, you can just go on YouTube and pull up some of her videos, but she speaks of angels from a childhood on, and just absolutely beautiful stories. And she travels around the world talking about her experiences and about the existence of angels. And anyway, it was just a really warm sensation to me because I've always felt the presence of angels in my life. Can I say that I've ever seen an angel? No, I can't say
I'm right
that.
beside you.
I sit corrected.
I can resist.
She's always right.
Yeah, this I've been told. But I will share one experience that I had, and what it was, I have no idea. But when I was recovering from cancer years ago, when I was 30 years old, and it was very severe, and I was really recovering quite quickly, and we had a 10-acre parcel out in the woods, out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and it was a pitch black night. And we lived in a trailer. We were very poor. And I was standing in my driveway, which was about 100 feet from the house. And all of a sudden there was this light that just shined around me. And I mean, it was like a spotlight, like maybe a helicopter was shining a spotlight down on me. It was that bright. It was very, very intense light. And it was like, I looked up at the sky. There was absolutely nothing in the sky. And I looked all around me. There was no source that can be explained for that light. And it just stayed there. And I just basked in that light for, it must have been 5 or 10 minutes. It was a long time. And I wanted to show my family, look at this light. It's incredible. And, I went into the house, came back, and it was gone, of course. But to me, I always have felt a presence of angels around me all the time. And I mean, there's never a moment that I do not feel that presence. Again, can I physically see them? No, but I do feel that presence.
I'm getting to that point where I feel them all the time as well, not have to actually try and tune in. Brandy?
So I've had 2 experiences where I feel like I've been physically in the presence of angels. They were both times of great crisis. But the story I want to tell is coming to Paul's class when he taught about angels about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. And we had just had the stone ceremony like the week before. So I had my new stone ceremony name. And Paul did this class and he talked to us and had us really get still and listen to try to hear the name of our guardian angel. And I listened and I heard a name that I know no one with the name of. It was Edith. And I was like, surely that's wrong. And I was going, am I hearing my friend's parking angel name? Like, what is this? And I keep hearing Edith. And finally I hear a different name and it's Stefano. And I go, okay, whatever. This was interesting class. I go home and I look up what the names mean. And the name Edith meant the same name that I had chosen on the stone ceremony. And I was like, whoa. And then the name Stefano meant intensity. And that's definitely an adjective that people would use to describe me. And I was kind of like, okay, now I have them both. So the idea of them being in my life and wanting my greater good and watching out for me and trying to pave the way for me, it makes so much sense now. And so I am a lot more aware to stop when I'm getting into the hamster circles on the wheel, going crazy and messing with my own brain, to stop and take a deep breath and go, okay, Edith, I'm listening.
Yes.
What are you up to now?
That's awesome.
I have one really quick. Okay, so when I first started my spiritual journey and I would meditate a lot, I would always see these 2 sort of like pillars of light behind me when I would meditate. Mm-hmm. And I started inquiring about, like, what is that? And I heard goodness and mercy. And I'm like, interesting. And then I came across I was studying the Bible and I came across the passage and it says, surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. And so now every time when I have when I'm stressed out or something, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. Goodness and mercy are right behind me.
That is awesome. Well, I'm going to tell you one of my stories and then we'll come back. When I was in my early 20s, and this was in the 70s, roommate and I decided, we were city girls, and we wanted to move out to the country, and do that whole country thing. So anyway, we rented a little house. It was on the backside of Buena Vista Ranch, which is where the the wildlife preserve, I can't think of the name of it, out Stratford area. But this is a huge ranch, so we were on the back side of it. There were a couple little houses they rented back there, and they would run Charolais cattle in there. Whenever they had the cattle in the pasture where our house was at, they would close the gates. When the cattle were moved to another pasture, the gates would be open, and the gate is how you drive through to go to the house. And I've kind of set this up. If you go out Division past 125, it becomes YY. And that runs out for several miles past the back of this ranch. And then on past that, I'd only been down there once. It really turns into a dirt road and goes down to the river. And it's just kind of kind of a trail through there. I don't think it went through anywhere. So one day I'm coming home from Springfield, or I'm maybe 21. I'm pretty young, you know. Coming home from Springfield, and this car is following me out Division, and not a big deal because there's people who live out there. Across 125, it's still behind me, and I can see there's a man driving. And so, you know, I was getting a little bit nervous because he's been following me for several miles. And so as we get closer and closer out to the ranch, out where our house was, it's about 10 miles out of Springfield, and there's just nothing out there because it's all big ranch land. The guy is still behind me. And of course, I'm getting really nervous, you know, really scared. And I knew Rose, my roommate, wasn't home. So I'm just saying to myself, well, please let the gate be open, because I did not want to have to get out, open the gate, you know, with this guy behind me. So I got out there to where the gate was. Thank God it was open. So I drove on through and up to the house, you know, kind of junk out, man. As I turned around and looked, he had pulled into the drive. He stopped at the gate. Here's the gate, and he stopped there, and he's getting out of his car. I am terrified. I mean, there is nobody out there. So I ran into the house, and I'm just going, oh, you know, God, please help me, please help me. And I looked back out the window, and I saw, it was very brief, but I saw these two fiery, huge beings, kind of like your pillars of light. But they had more of a form, but they were just these fiery beings, and they were standing on either side of that gate at the posts. And as I saw them, I saw him jump back in his car, back out into the road, and take off back to Springfield.
Wow.
I have never forgotten. I saw them only briefly, but I have never forgotten that. Woo! Yeah, it was an intense experience, but I can say I have seen them, if only briefly, and that's how they appeared to me at that time. Apparently, either he saw them or he felt it, because he was not staying. So anyway, that was one of my most intense experiences.
Wow.
Anybody else? Don?
Since I was a very young man, I had this feeling, and as I grow older, it becomes more intense, that not all of the overseeing that is done is overt. I can't help thinking that my whole life has been just drawn by what I call gossamer strings that have led me where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's a conviction that stays with me and is so intense that there's never any question that I am in the town where I belong. I am in the situation in which I belong. This is the hand of God, and I am that hand. I am part of that hand, or I can't explain it, but those gossamer strings tell me that I'm going in the right direction, and it's an uncanny, wonderful feeling to live with.
It's wonderful. Anybody else? Wendy.
So, give some experiences, but then I have some questions too. I know metaphysically that everything that we see here are thought forms. We are thought forms. Angels are thought forms. Demons are thought forms. Everything is, and that we are our spirits through focus and intention and the drive for life are creating incredible experiences through thought forms that can appear very solid, very real. And so even as I say that, I don't discount the experiences that we have or the nature of those experiences. So, but I think it's important to interject that into here. And the purpose for that is, having been raised in a very, very dark kind of energy and thought, literally as a child, demons attacked me and touched me and hurt me, spirits that were there. And so, but that doesn't mean I believe in demons, because when I stopped believing, when I stopped giving credence to that, then they were gone. So part of it is that metaphysical idea of that which we focus on becomes bigger and larger in our experience. So the first thing I would say is wonderful for those who are listening or who haven't had experiences. You can call in any kind of assistance and aid and loving presences around you, whether they're true or not. We're all thought fits all thought forms. So, I do have 2 guardians that have been with me, Sarai and Lazare. There are times when they will hold my hands. I will feel them with me, supporting me. I've seen guardians on others. They express in different ways. One man was a therapist who took life very, very seriously. His guardians came and they dressed like clowns to give him a message, to take things more lightly, because he was facing some things and needed that. But the other aspect that I was asking on is my son, who crossed when he was 19, came to me. It was the only solid body visitation. Came into me in the presence of another person that also saw him, touched him, hugged him, so that. And one of the things that he said that he was doing, he didn't say angel work, but he said guardian work. He had something to do with children, something to do with the transportation of children. I don't know whether he was taking them if they died or coming back or anything. So I wondered on that. You said they're not human beings, but definitely that's what he said. So I was wondering about that with what you studied.
Well, I mean, I'm certainly no expert. I do believe that when we pass, we continue on. And yes, I've had, it's more of an internal communication, but I've had communication with my brother and with my dad. And yes, I do believe that they continue. My personal opinion, and it's just an opinion, is that it's harder for them to manifest, and that your son was able to. That is wonderful, because I think it's harder for them to do that once they're in the spiritual body. But I feel like there is still different types of spiritual purposes that's not the right word, spiritual identities, just like our animals. They are spirits in themselves, and I believe that it's not beyond my ability to believe anyway that angels are just a different expression of spirit. They're not the same as the expression that we are, although I think they can manifest as that. They can manifest as people. They can manifest as winged creatures, as probably as even animals. I've read stories about animals that appear for a purpose in someone's life, and then they're gone just as quickly. So, and then the Indians, so the natives, they believed in animal spirits. Could that have been those angelic or guiding spirits that would manifest as animals? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I just think that we're at a time and space with the way that we're rapidly evolving, that something out there, whether you call it angels or spirit guides or whatever, wants to help. That's my feeling. It kind of inspired me to talk about it, because I feel like they want to be known. So,
you raise your microphone just a little bit.
Oh, is it? Am I not talking? Yeah. Sorry. So that's my feeling. That's why I wanted to cover that today. Yes, Albie.
Well, Esther talks about, since Jerry transitioned, that there are times when Abraham appears to her or talks to her or whatever, and she can tell that Jerry has become part of the collective of Abraham and is still present with her. And yet, you know, the Abraham collective says that they don't manifest on the physical, that they experience the physical through us. They love it when Esther is walking down the driveway on a beautiful day and experiencing the awe of the beauty of this world, because they can feel it through her.
Mm-hmm.
And now she can tell when Jerry is communicating. So I think that it's kind of a mix. My pastor in my church in Wichita said that there were times when we were having a evangelical experience going on that he saw angels. Mm-hmm. And he said they were like so tall that they actually went outside of the church. And,
wow.
And I had the pastor before him, son had been, he died as a result of an automobile accident. And when my pastor was seeking comfort, he saw him being led to these huge doors. And he said, and he had this little angel had him by the hand. And he said, it was just a little angel.
Yeah.
So, he actually saw that manifestation. The times that I've had what I would probably consider an angel manifestation, they have come in bodily form that I couldn't really tell.
Right.
And if you look through scripture, there is never a time that they talk about that they connect wings with angels.
Mm-hmm.
They connect seraphim and cherubim with wings,
mm-hmm.
but not angels. But I think we put wings on them because that's how we can differentiate.
Possibly.
When an artist is trying to conceive of something that is he doesn't consider human.
Right.
I think they put wings on him because
something heavenly. Yeah.
Well, and also because they're not limited. They don't have, gravity doesn't affect them.
Right.
And so I think that there's a lot that I think they can manifest in any kind of form, and that they take that form because it's what we can receive.
Right. I agree. And I don't mean to say that there's any separation. I mean, we believe in unity. There's only one power and one presence. So we are all one, whether it's angel spirit, whether it's human spirit, whether it's animal spirit, we are all one. We're all one in God. There is no separation. There's just different purposes.
Yeah.
Our existence. Yes, Wendy.
Okay, so I have another experience that I've always wondered what I hear people talking about angels, but I don't hear them talking about a physical experience, that feeling of that. So as a small child, I was locked in dark places, and there was a being of light that would come. It was a man's form that would come in there, but literally that form was something that I could touch. It was something that had presence. It was like a grown-up person, holding you. Mm-hmm. And literally again, it's not, forget the darkness of this so much, but one place that I would get locked was in a freezer that was running. And the angel presence would come and actually hold me and keep me warm. So I'm wondering, I've always wondered, is that an angel presence? Or I've always wondered if that was Jesus, or if that was an angel, or if, what kind of just anybody's experience and what they've read, what that would have been.
I would say just ask. I don't think anybody could answer that for you. I would just ask, let me see this.
Oh, okay.
See this as it is, And if it is, the answer will come, from wherever. I do have one other story that I want to share with you, and then if anyone else has something to share, we can do that, or we can wrap it up. My grandson, Carter, he's 9 now, but when he was little, he'd come and stay with me. And this particular night, he was, trying to remember, he was 3 or 4, but he was young. He talked a lot, but his vocabulary, of course, was a little limited because he was little. But anyway, it had just gotten dark. It wasn't pitch black yet, but it was, it was dark and it was fairly warm outside. So my front door was open. I had a full glass storm door that was closed. And he has always called me Hapa. I have no idea why. He still does. Even though my other grandkids call me Grandma, he won't do it. I'm Hapa to him. But anyway, he's standing there at the stairs and he's looking out the door and he said, "Who's that boy, Hapa?" And I said, "What boy?" And he said, "Out in the street." And I said, "Well, it's probably Deborah's grandson." She was a neighbor of mine. And so he's just staring intently, and I mean, he's little. And he said, "He's stuck, Hapa." And I said, "Stuck?" And so I'm thinking, what, he fall down the street or something? So I get up, and I go to the door and walk down the porch. Carter's right with me. And I said, "Well, honey, I don't see him now. He must have gone on in." He said, "Hapa, he's right there." And he's pointing. And I said, "Where?" And I'm getting a little creeped out, because I'm not seeing anything out here. We've got a street light, there's nothing out there. He said, "He's in your drive," and he's pointing at this, whatever it is he's seeing. And so I'm like, talk to him. And he's like, "Hi." And he said, he can't talk. And I'm just like, what in the heck is going on? And then he said something, and I couldn't quite make out what he said, but I thought I heard rings and then back. And I said, "He's got rings on his back?" And he said, "No, Hapa, you mean, like flying things."
Wow.
Yeah, he was little. I mean, and he was seeing this, and there was nothing there I could see. So when I'm kind of like, "Let's go in the house," And so his mom came to pick him up, and I told her about it. And so she asked Carter about it, and he said, "No, it was just sticks in the street." There were no sticks in the street. For some reason, he was not going to tell her, but that was an experience that I had, and I could tell, just he was so focused on whatever this was, and to me, it was had to have been an angelic presence that was showing itself as a child.
Yeah.
Why with wings? I don't know, because he didn't even, he just said, like flying things. So anyway, that was a pretty intense experience as well. Anybody else?
I'm going to share a couple stories that happened just very recently. Sue and I had gone to Illinois this week to be with my mother, who is obviously elderly and going through a lot of health issues. And, we suspect that, she's probably got maybe a couple of years to go at the most. But she was one of 11 children, and she's the last of 11 children now. She just lost her sister over the summer, who was my Aunt Iva Lou. And so I'll start with Iva Lou first. Iva Lou passed, I believe, in July, if I'm not mistaken. But she had a heart condition, and the doctors told her, "Well, we can give you a pacemaker, and that can prolong your life." And she, at 92, decided no, that was it for her. So she was in the hospital the last, maybe week of her life. And my cousin, Dan is his name, was there visiting her at the foot of her bed. And she just sat up and said, Who's that in the room with me?" And Dan said, "Who's that man in the room with me?" And Dan said, "Well, it's your son, Dan, Mom." And he goes, "No, I know you, that other man, And of course, if you've ever worked with people that are ready to transition, that's a kind of a familiar story. Mm-hmm. The other one is that my mom was lying in bed, and she didn't tell me this directly, but my sister Kathy told me the story. And just a few days ago, she was lying in bed, and she felt a man lying in bed next to her. And she physically heard the words coming from his mouth, "I'm here to help you." And she got freaked out. I mean, really freaked out. And she didn't recognize the voice at all. But in the morning, she woke up, and she was on the opposite side of the bed from where she never ever sleeps on that side of the bed. And so there was a presence there. Was it angels? Who knows? It's spirit.
It's spirit.
But possibly angels.
So I have experienced the presence of something in my life for most of my life, and there's no doubt in my mind that there's something here that has guided me so many times. It's guided me out of situations that have really been kind of like the thing with the guy following you. I had one of those experiences. And for me, and I'm always, because every morning when I wake up, I say good morning, and I say good morning to my angels and my guides, because I don't know what to call them. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, your angels and guides. And I always thank them for loving me, because, in our humanness, it's hard to imagine that we're loved that much. Mm-hmm. That they're always just here for us. And I've always read and heard that, because we have free will, it is important to ask them. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I constantly ask, I call upon, it's my guide for my Sunday morning talk. When I get stuck, I just stop and I say, thank you, guide of the talk, for being here with me and guiding me and opening me up to whatever. And it's amazing to me that, mm-hmm. I just get quiet in that moment, and whoosh, the ideas start to come. So my point being that, there's help here for us all the time. Call it whatever you will. It's here, and it's here for every single one of us, and it's always here for us. And thank you for doing this, because this is that reminder for us to really be in tune and aware mm-hmm. of it. And again, to call it forth, because it is the ask part of it.
Yes, I totally agree with you. You get to the point where you can almost hear laughter at times when I'm being really ridiculous, yes. Worrying about something. I can hear laughter, I can feel it, and I've even heard angelic choirs, when I'm happy, and it's just like this feeling of joy, Yes, I totally agree with you. It's here. Yes. I saw another hand.
So in my early 30s, one of my dearest friends, John, back in Detroit, where I'm from, was all of a sudden out of nowhere passing away from cancer. And I was living in Arizona, and my dad worked it out to where I could get there. We drove straight to the hospital from the airport, and the first thing John said was, "Oh my God, you came." Anyway, so we visited for a while, and I went home and I created all these positive affirmations on posters and all this stuff to take back to the hospital when he passed away that evening. And, okay, so then here come the obituaries. There's two. John had always kind of wanted to be more than just friends, but he was good with just friends. Anyway, there's two newspapers in Detroit, the Detroit News and the Free Press, and he has a sister named Patty. And the newspaper says he survived. One of them says he survived by his sister Patty. The other one said he was survived by his sister Susan. Oh. So then we come to the visitation, and John always had the parties at his house when all of us from high school would come back together. Somebody would come in from out of town, and everybody would go party at John's house. And he had a huge wine cellar that he kept for a special occasion. And so we're at the visitation, and a bunch of us decide we're going over to John's house, and we're going to have a party. We're going to drink his wine. So, so we drink his wine. We have a huge party. All sorts of stuff happens in the party. Weird stuff, like John, if he didn't want you to leave, he would steal your car keys. His best friend's car keys ended up in some girl's purse that was there on a date that nobody even knew. Anyway, so I've always spent the night at John's when I went back to town. So I figured, okay, well, I'll just spend the night at John's. So about 4 o'clock in the morning, the last car pulls out of the driveway, And I'm sitting there on the couch after an evening of all sorts of weird things like the keys happening. And every light in the house goes off. And I said, "Oh, no, John. I'm not ready for a visitation." So I went back to my dad's empty house because he lived elsewhere, and I slept on the couch. And the next morning was the funeral. And get up, wine hangover for sure, and get to this. His dad was a bigwig in Detroit, and get to this huge mausoleum. There's a giant wooden throne up at the front, and there's the casket, and I'm sitting about 3/4 of the way back. Family's all up front. And I'm looking, and all of a sudden I see this form come down and sit in the middle of that throne. I'm going, "Are you hungover? Are you just seeing things because you're hungover or what?" And then I see these two fluorescent green forms come down on either side of him. And they just hung out there until the service was over. And I keep squinting my eyes and rubbing them and trying to make it go away or something. And it just stayed there. And so then, so we're standing out front waiting for people to come out and stuff. And here comes his sister Patty. And she's pretty much lost it totally, and she's almost being carried by a guy on either side. And she looks at me and she said, "Susan, did you see the angels come take him away?" I said, "Yeah, Patty, I did."
That's awesome.
Anyway, that was it was at a time in my life when I needed proof that there was something more. And I got it.
That's beautiful. Carrie, we have one more? Okay, and then we're going to probably need to wrap it up.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I have, like a lot of issues believing in angels and things like that. But right now, when you were talking about this, I was thinking probably because I have been like a control freak my whole life. So probably I haven't paid attention. And, everything that you were talking about was kind of like, oh, yeah, I have feel that. I can see that. It's like, thank you, because it's me not paying attention.
Yes, that's what I was hoping for. I think that's what the angels want as well, just to know they're there. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you.